the entry didn't do a countdown. I've got Rico. I've got Pearlo. Special guests to come, maybe, possibly. The boys know, but I don't want to spoil it in case he doesn't come. So, or can't make it. He's working, so it's a work trip, I think, for him. And I don't know if the internet's going to cooperate. So, real quick, we haven't been together in weeks, so I've got a list of stuff I wanted to talk to you guys about.
Great.
But today we had probably the biggest hockey news of the summer. Austin Matthews signs a 4-year, $52 million extension at $13.25 a year. I want to yield to the Toronto Maple Leafs fan in the chat. Rico, tell us how you feel.
Mm-hmm. I like it. First thing that came to my mind was, man, only 4 years. So it would have been nice to lock him up. McDavid, McKinnon, like 8 years type thing. But, it's 5 more years to bring him into year 30. That means he plays 12 years for the Leafs. He did it in small portions, but I mean, the market's set, man. So he set the bar. Now it's just for William Nylander to step up and sign his. We'd like to lock up that franchise player a little longer, but cap's going to go up. And of course, I mean, it's a risk on both sides. Anytime you sign a deal, there's going to be risk on the player. What happens if he gets hurt, if his production goes down, he's going to sign a ticket when he's 30 years old. But I mean, at that money, he's probably going to score 50 goals 4 times, maybe even get a heart in there. You never know. But hopefully he's growing into more of a two-way player, which he has been shown signs of. So hopefully they could take the next level. I think they've surrounded him with a little more toughness as well too. So I like the deal. It was kind of crazy that they announced it right before we came on today. I was listening to Fan 590 today in my house, and then I just heard the breaking news. Like, I just heard it right from the source. So it was an exciting day.
I saw the tweet from Friedman, then everybody else. I was trying to throw it up on there, and it's not cooperating with me. But I wanted to get it up there, show the tweet. I imagine it was the news of the day. Pearlo, what are your thoughts?
It's a great deal.
Yeah.
He's worth more than that. He had a down year defensively last year, but the year before he did really well. 13 point, he's a $15.5 million player. Easy. So
yeah, I thought it was a deal per the market.
It's
I just feel like
steal for the market when you think the cap is going up right now. Everything that it's a steal. I wouldn't even have signed it if I were him, to tell you the honest truth. I wouldn't sign for anything less than over 14. So yeah, it's a great deal. Can't argue with it at all.
I'm glad you said that. Do you think, and this question is for both of you, that this gets some of the critics off Matthews a little bit, because he could say, hey, I took less to help the team win?
I'll go with Rico on that first, but I have my answer.
I think so. He would have definitely got more money. It's just I'm just wondering how long this has been sitting there while they were trying to negotiate with Nylander. So I'm just wondering when the next domino is going to fall. That was the first thing I thought of after he signed that contract too. Is that I think Nylander's just going to play out the string and play the year out, and then he's going to end up walking because Toronto's not going to pay him. I have a funny feeling of that, but no, I'm happy that he's not going to free agency. You lock up the guy, and like I said, he's going to be in Toronto for 12 years, even though it was 2 or 3 contracts after his entry level. But I think it's a good deal for the team, and lets them focus on other things, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's a message to the organization from Matthews and his camp to say, hey, I'm committed to you, but I'm not going to overcommit. And I'm going to give you a chance to put a cup winning. And look, I said this. I like what they put together this offseason, what Tree Leaving has done. I think if a couple things go their way and they can add, let's say they trade Nylander and they get players back, because they're going to want, I think if you're Toronto, you don't want prospects. Okay, So our special guest is clicked in. I don't know where he's at, but I'm going to bring on Hot Take Hockey, John Viveros. John, how's it going? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it. And hello, Pearlo. Hello, Rico. Appreciate you guys having me.
John, how you doing, buddy?
Yeah, sorry you're on the road, but I really appreciate it. I wanted to, so for the record, I reached out to John early today to ask him about, he did a video about his breakout players for every NHL team. He went through, it was a great video, and I recommend you checking it out on his channel, because he got my gears of thinking about, oh yeah, like this is going to be a different year, man. And so I wanted to have him come on and talk about those things, and maybe just like a couple that he really maybe didn't get to talk enough about on his video. But then the Austin Matthews stuff broke. And John, I was just saying before you popped on, Rico and Pearlo have kind of both think it's a great deal. Rico's a little bit apprehensive about what happens with Nylander, but I think that's only probably the right thought. And I said, to me, I think this is a great thing where Matthews and his representation is letting the organization know, hey, I'm committed to you, but I'm not going to overcommit. I've given you enough time now to put together a championship team. This is a discounted. I think this is a discounted thing. Like Pearlo did. Pearlo said he thinks he shouldn't have taken anything less than 14. I mean, it's really not that big of a difference. So I just wanted to. And we got some legends in the chat, Darkness and Gabby. We'll definitely hear from you guys. I just want to hear your thoughts, John, because I know how you make it your mission to cover the Leafs when you have time, and they're your team, your favorite team. Obviously, you're in the GTA. You got to be feeling great about this deal.
Yeah, I feel good. I think overall, I'll say this, Jeremiah. I know you've seen it a lot. I just think there's a lot of people that have an agenda towards the Leafs, and I mean, maybe rightfully so at times. So regardless of what was going to happen, I mean, I think the critics would have been out if this was 13.25 for 8 years. The critics would have been out saying years 7 and 8 would be a bust territory or something like that. I mean, we've seen it with Tavares, right? I mean,
no, this is a good deal for them. Yeah, he's only going to be 31 at the end of this deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the deal. I mean, I'd be nitpicking to say I wish he had gone closer to McKinnon and McDavid just because he hasn't proven as much yet. But I mean, that's nitpicking to an extreme, over $500,000. So, yeah, I think I like the deal. I think overall, to me, the worry was always with Nylander, kind of what Rico said. So, I was pretty confident with Matthews. I thought it would be in around between 12.5 to 13.5. So it fell in that range. Sure, I'd like a couple more years there, but I'm not complaining. I think 4 years is better than what, I mean, I feel like some people were throwing out 2 or 3 years at one point. So 4 is not bad.
No, I mean,
I think that's it.
Sorry, Rico, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, now he is saying that 2 years. That's probably what Dubas would have signed him for. Probably would have gave him 14 over 2.
Well, I'll just say this. I think that if let's just say he declines, Bacon, nice to see you in the chat. Let's say he declines to some extent. Let's say he goes 50-50, maybe 37 or something the last year of that deal. And then they get him on and he stays on for another 4 or 5 years at a like $7 or $8 million. I mean, this could end up working out so well for them. And look, if I'm Austin Matthews, I try to play my whole career there in what I think is the most difficult media market for any sport right now, except for soccer. Okay, except for like Europe, like Messi being like on a team or something, because we're seeing that here in the States now for the first time. Like there was some craze with David Beckham coming here and playing for the LA Galaxy. I've never seen anything like this Messi thing. Like McAfee's talking about it. And those guys don't talk about anything other than football. So I just wanted to get you guys' thoughts.
You want to bet, hon?
Again,
Because we got to put our betting up soon, eh?
No, here, let me mute Rico real quick. Sorry about that. We'll take him off when he can. So, John, I can't help but agree with you. I think the Leafs would have critics regardless, but I think I saw mostly like level-headed hockey fans, not your internet trolls, we're 100% for this.
Sorry, I thought Rico was gonna go. Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I mean, I saw the Biz video. That was pretty funny. Guys fired up.
Yeah.
I just saw that before I jumped on. I saw that he's walking
Yeah.
down the street and he's just pumped, eh?
Yeah, they've got the Barstool celebrating their 20th award show, and they're doing a big award show in Boston. So, well, I have a list of stuff I wanted to go over, and John, you're welcome to stay with us. But before we did that, I wanted to say, hey, I wanted to shout out the Buffalo Sabres fans. I know Melody Martin, some of those people, really good fans that, Rick Jenneret had retired, but he passed away. Obviously, that happened since our last show. It's been a long time since we've met. So I just wanted to say rest in peace, Rick Jenneret, one of the greatest. I mean, I just loved his calls. He was the best. I mean, he did it for over 50 years. He was far and away my favorite play-by-play hockey guy ever. He's like the Harry Carey of hockey to me. If you don't know who Harry Carey was, he did the Cubs forever. So
He was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, he'd get drunk.
Will Smith. Will. Yeah, I love Harry Carey. For sure. But I did want to point out, I don't think they're going to have any problem signing Nylander at all. None of them.
We'll see. We'll see.
I think they're going to sign him probably somewhere in the 9.5 to 10. And, the cap's going to go up, and they're not going to do it until like next year. But I don't think they're going to have any problem signing him at all.
So Bacon has a question for us, but before I do, I'll say this too. Like, Rico, you can attest to this, and I know John for sure. Nylander played really well in the playoffs for them. Like, they got to be thinking about keeping him, right? I mean, like, the only thing I would think is if you could somehow get him and Tavares off your team and create some cap space and fill some holes where you feel like maybe you could use a top pair D and maybe a little bit more depth scoring, and you're going to sacrifice some center depth or anything like that. So I don't know. The Leafs will be the subject of what we talk about just because of the sheer media coverage. But like, it's I want to see if they can make it in that environment. To me, I can't but help root for them,
I have a trade proposal for Bacon.
Oh, Bacon. Yeah, we'll have to. Bacon asked us, y'all, did we talk about the Bouchard deal? I missed the details. What was the Bouchard? Did Evan Bouchard finalize
I don't think it's official yet. I think.
Yeah, I've been watching.
Freeman put the number.
3.9 for 2 years.
Oh my God, that's a steal. They got him up for 2. I can't believe he signed a 2-year deal.
Well, if it works out for him, he's going to get a massive payday in 2 years.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, I thought he could get 6 or 7 million right now. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, probably worth it, don't you think?
I just don't think that they could fit him under, and he's obviously
he's
making a statement here that he wants to be in Edmonton because he could easily not sign that contract, look for long or whatever. There's a lot of things he could do. He's taken a big gamble, I think, on that deal, I would say.
Big shocker. Teams aren't helping Edmonton and trading for CC.
Oh, I would not be trying to help them out whatsoever. I mean, they're on the cusp of winning a cup. They have
well, that's what would happen, right? If they got rid of the CC or Fogle contract, they could have locked in Bouchard like 6x6.
I'm an Oilers fan, and I'll tell you, and I believe they will not win a cup.
Wow.
They will not win a cup. Not the
way
it's
frozen.
Not the way that
I don't know what to say. I don't honestly. I'm telling you, Pearlo keeps poo-pooing my Seattle Kraken. I'm telling you, the West is
Seattle's got a better chance of winning the cup than the Oilers.
Well, I will say this. I think watch out for Dallas too, right? I mean, if they could just figure out their defensive depth.
New Jersey Devils will win 2 cups in the next 5 years.
Well, that's
it's like the hot take from Pearlo. I'm passing on my name to Pearlo immediately.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that because of how well they are.
Do you want to hear why I say that? In the last 3 years, you had the Colorado Avalanche, the Las Vegas and Vegas, and Tampa Bay. All of them, their top 9 forwards were at least above even strength defense average. Every single one of their players in their top 3, every single one. And I believe in this NHL, and everybody's saying, well, you don't need a goaltender because look at Vegas. Yeah, but you do need even strength defense from your forwards. In this NHL, you need it. Need it. You don't need a goaltender if you have it, but if you don't have it, you need it. So like you look at a team like Toronto, they don't have it, and they don't have the goaltender. You look at a team like Edmonton, they don't have it, and they don't have the goaltender. So I'm not putting them in there at all. And New Jersey,
I'm not ready to rule out.
New
I'm not
Jersey
ready to
this
rule
year
out.
not only has over, they are insane. Their top 12 even strength defense is the best we have seen since analytics have been put in. They are insane. It's going to be. I'd take New Jersey to win the next year, hands down, easily.
Yeah, I don't know they're going to win it easily. I still would be worried about Carolina. I'd be a little bit less worried about the Rangers. They're going to be older, and I wasn't impressed with them in the playoffs. I did a thing for my wife and played some GM mode with her and rebuilt the Rangers. I would get rid of Panarin and a couple other players on that team.
Absolutely. Totally.
In fact, there's a Bleacher Report article I wanted to talk to you guys about. If John, if you'll humor me and you want to stay on for a bit, I understand you're working. I don't want to keep you long. I said not too long, and I really got what I wanted from you. But if you want to stay on, okay. We haven't met so long that we didn't get a chance to talk about Karlsson to Pittsburgh. I don't know what it does for them. I think he's much higher end offensively than Chris Letang. But Chris Letang, I think you like a little bit more of the defense you get from him. It's probably a wash, right? So and they play the same position. I don't know that it makes Pittsburgh. Do they make the playoffs? I don't know. I mean, there's just going to be some teams that get better, and there's going to be some teams that step back. So, yeah. What are your thoughts, Karlsson? Go ahead, Rico.
Well, it's obviously Pittsburgh's last ditch effort to see if they can get a cup with that core of Crosby and Malkin and Letang back together. They've signed these guys a little bit further than they should have. I mean, it's either that or rebuild, which is not going to happen. So Karlsson, at least he can get the puck up to those guys, and you're not relying on Letang to do everything on the back end there. So I don't know. I think it's cool, man. Pittsburgh's always been an offensive team back in the early 90s with the stars they had, and Crosby and them in their prime. They won a couple cups, so it's nice that they just went after him, man. I like Karlsson. I hate seeing him down in San Jose on a rebuilding team while he's still hanging on to the prime of his career. So I like it.
You know where I would have liked to see him go, and I'm just going to be. I would have liked to see him go to Ottawa. I don't know why. I just thought Ottawa. They could have used him.
It would have been fun. It would have been fun for sure.
Yeah. And it would have been kind of a sweet thing. They're a young team, and I feel like they have a chance. John, I know you did some videos and talked about the trade. I know how Pearlo feels about Karlsson, so I don't even know if I want to hear it.
What do you mean? No, I think you're going to be surprised at what I think about that trade.
What do you think? What do you think, John?
I think if you're going to do something like that, do what Pittsburgh did. He's one of the best offensive defensemen of all time, right? So go for it. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean,
the
only thing I would have said for Pittsburgh would have been, like, I think earlier on they should have tried to solidify the depth. I didn't love their depth signings. Like I thought looking at, I mean, Pearlo, going back to your point about the Devils, I feel like speed, obviously defensive hockey kills, but also speed kills. And I feel like Pittsburgh getting older, getting slower. Yeah, Carlson adds with the speed, but I mean, some of the guys they added for depth, it's still a lot of guys that are in their 30s slower. So I like the Carlson ad. I don't necessarily think it's what they needed, but I mean, if the guy puts up 80 points, and I mean, they were 1 point out of the playoff spot. So if Jari can just hold his own and they can just outscore their opponents every night, they'll probably be like the 2017 Toronto Maple Leafs. So maybe it'll be fun. I guess Dubas likes that kind of hockey.
That's a really good point, John. But really, what does Pittsburgh need other than a rebuild, right? So if you're not going to rebuild, you might as well do something like Carlson and see what happens. But that's what I think. Would you agree?
I mean, yeah, they're going to get a lot of asses in seats, so it'll just be an entertaining year for the last couple of years with Sid and Gino.
Yeah, exactly.
So we're getting the highest number of chats that we've ever gotten, and that has probably everything with you to be here, John. So I really appreciate it. Bacon asks you, it's not a bad deal, but where would that leave us with no centers? I think he was talking about a deal. I don't know. Maybe there was some back and forth. Probably, I'm assuming Willie Nylander was involved. So Jeff Petrie gets traded to Montreal and then subsequently gets moved to Detroit. I don't really have any thoughts for that. I don't think it hurts Detroit to have. I think if Jeff Petrie's playing bottom 6, bottom 4, I think that doesn't hurt for Detroit. I think he'll be fine there.
Yeah, okay.
I think he fits well. Rico, you got any thoughts on Petrie? That's kind of the last thing, because then I wanted to ask you guys about this Bleacher Report article that was written today, actually. It was called 7 Teams That Must Blow It Up if they can't win the Stanley Cup this season. And so number 1 is Boston. I think Boston's going to have a tough time making the playoffs, guys. I just think you can't underestimate the loss of Bergeron and Krejci to that lineup. That was their number 1 and number 2 centers. They got them back. Where do you guys feel about Boston? I would have maybe tried to do it this year, but I think they were just so scrunched up with the cap that Sweeney's hands were tied. What do you think?
I don't know about Boston. I'm on the same page as you. I mean, so Swayman re-upped there through arbitration, which didn't go well. He didn't really like that, going through arbitration. He got 3 point something mil for 1 year. And Allmark's still there. They got goaltending. I mean, the little bit of leadership still there, but there's not much there in Boston. I don't know what's gonna happen there. I don't know, Pearlo. Who else did Boston pick up? They picked somebody else up or Geeky, right? They picked that guy up. So I mean, he's going to be one of your top two centers.
Well, that was one of Pate Hockey's breakout performers. He thinks that Morgan Geeky's going to have a really good year with.
Oh, that's right. He did say that. Yeah.
If you watch his video again, shout out
Pate Hockey. I watch all John's videos. Are you kidding me?
I will shoot up. I will put the link in the description for you, John, because we refer to your video. So people that watch this, I'm just going to say more people go to your 50,000 subscribers. So I appreciate you coming on.
I appreciate you for having me.
Well, someday we'll have 1,000 or something. We'll get to a round number, but we're in the triple digits right now.
I wanted to ask John about that because I don't get to talk to him very often. I can't say I'm a huge Geeky supporter, but he seems to be. He had a great junior career. What is it about Geeky that makes you think that he's going to go off this year, John?
I think there's a lot of physical attributes to Geeky that stands out for me. But I think in small sample size with Seattle, and I think he was just sheltered in a 4th line role. And I think that's why Ron Francis kind of scooped him out of Carolina, because it was the same thing in Carolina. He was never going to get more than 4th line minutes in Carolina. And I think he got that brief opportunity in Seattle, and they tried to shift him to the wing. I just think with Boston, and kind of similar to a guy like Pavel Zacha with the Devils never really truly, I would say, got that look. And I think with Geeky, there's a clear opportunity here for him to get 2nd or 3rd line center opportunities. And I think that's kind of where his pure, I would say, position lies. So for me, it's more, I trust the fact that he's got the physical attributes and he's got the skill set. But also, I mean, for a lot of guys in the league, it literally just comes down to opportunity. So by default, I think he's going to get good looks. And I mean, I could see him playing with a guy like Jake DeBrusk, who's on a contract year. And if those two guys play together, I could see them both having a successful year.
Yeah. I know you were big on him with Seattle, and he scored a sick goal early in Seattle's tenure there. And you were like, oh, Geeky could go off. And I knew you were familiar with his game from junior. So I knew you were big on him. And I was not surprised to hear you have him in your breakout performers for the year.
Yeah,
so
no, that definitely, I was just going to say that. Yeah, that definitely pissed me off because it was like, I said that. And then like 3 weeks into the season, he was on the fourth line. I'm like, wow, this is not going well.
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, you could tell the talent is there. I think you just need the I listened to Tyler Toffoli's interview with Chicklets, and sometimes I think you just need the opportunity, right?
Yep.
And then you just have to make the most of it. And he mentioned specifically in the Toffoli interview how Dean Lombardi had told him, you're fat and out of shape, basically. And so he was like, I am going to come in and great, like he used it as motivation, right? Plus,
well, then look, Toffoli gets the opportunity in Vancouver, and look what he does with it.
Yeah. And he had his best year ever last year, this last year. And now he's going to be on the Devils. And like Pearlo said, and here's a guy they add secretly. He's won a cup. I love what they're doing in New Jersey. I mean, New Jersey, Ottawa, Buffalo. I mean, those teams, I would love to be a fan of those teams right now. Their futures feel really bright. And it looks, like New Jersey, like they're going to run into the problem like with Carolina and Seattle in some respects too, where you're topped out of position and you can't play the guy. They couldn't give Geeky minutes. They had too many high-end guys there that were actually delivering. And, they get Bjorkstrand and stuff too. I think that probably changed it a little bit. He's more of a winger too. So you're going to play him over Geeky? Probably, I would think, just because he's kind of proven that he can be a little more consistent in the NHL right now. Well, I just want to go through this list real quick with you guys. So we'll talk about, I'll just read off the rest of the teams. We talked about Boston because I feel like they're the one team, they might not make the playoffs. I feel like that's where they're at. They're going to really have to see, again, I hate to say a team that, had a record-setting year is not going to make the playoffs, but I just wonder sometimes there's, you miss those pieces. I've seen it with a lot of teams where once they win the cup or they lose a player to injury, it just really affects them. The New York Islanders, I think that's an obvious one. Tampa Bay, the New York Rangers, which we talked about a little bit. Edmonton, which I was surprised they were on that list. Carolina, and then finally the Toronto Maple Leafs. So those are the teams. This article, by the way, if you're interested in it, guys, is on Bleacher Report. Our man Hot Take Hockey has done some stuff for Bleacher Report. Joe Yerdon, check it out. It's a solid article. At first, I was like, this guy does not know what he's talking about. But then I was like, read the title, idiot. If they can't win the cup this year, I'd say there's probably two teams on that list right now that I don't think are cup contending teams, and that's the Islanders and the Bruins right now. I just feel like with what they've lost. But the Islanders could prove me wrong. They get a whole year with Borhova. I thought he was not good for them after the trade. Rangers, I think they have a lot of expensive players that don't like to go to the dirty area. They're sort of Toronto Maple Leafs light in some form. But I didn't think Toronto didn't go to the dirties areas, having seen them play. I just think, they just kind of ran out of. They just got out physical by a more physical team in Florida. And, this didn't get any bounces, no puck luck or anything. So, Rico, tell me what you feel about that list and who's the team that you'd be like, yeah, I totally see them tearing it down next year.
Oh, no, I'll go with the Leafs, man. They got Bertuzzi on the 1-year deal, and that's where I think the money might get freed up for Nylander if they just let him play out this year as well. Bertuzzi's probably going to be playing for a contract, very motivated player. He'll probably walk. Domi might hang out for a little less money, but I think it's getting long in the tooth because Samsonov's on a year-by-year basis right now, so the goaltending's really, really tough situation in Leafland. So they should have went a little further last year, and they're going to be in the same boat this year. So I'm going to keep it right at home and say Toronto.
So you tear it all down next year if they don't win the cup after this.
It's just going to be harder and harder to put pieces around those guys as the years go by until Tavares is gone, and then it's going to reset itself a little bit. But
I feel you, Pearlo. What do you got of those teams? Who you're Edmonton guy? You're going to tear it down if you're Edmonton?
I mean, they're not tearing it down in Edmonton. There's no way. Not with McDavid there. It's not going to happen, even if it maybe should. And Lamoriello has made it quite clear that he's just going to keep on beating that drum for the next 10 years. So that's
I mean, how long is he going to live? Isn't he already 110 or something?
Yeah, like he'll be in his grave before they ever do a rebuild in the island. By the looks of it. The Rangers, I don't think that they would rebuild, but I could see kind of a retool. The only thing is, what do you do with what you got? And I totally agree with you, Beard, about Panarin is just is an anchor to that team, complete anchor to that team. And
he's got like the fourth largest contract in the NHL.
It's really getting difficult to ignore the fact that if you could do something with that Panarin contract, you probably have a better team in the Rangers. You got a great defense. You got one of the best goaltenders in the league, but you have this forward group that's trying to look up to a guy like Panarin. You don't want to be looking up to Panarin. Just ignore the fact that Panarin is there. But
Pearlo, I got a question for you.
Sure.
Who was more of a letdown in the first round, Panarin or Kaprizov's 2 lame assists?
I would say Panarin, actually. Yeah, Kaprizov, I mean, he doesn't have as much of a supporting cast there. Panarin should be able to do a lot more with what he's got there. And he looks like to me that he's just like, let's get the game over so I can get on my yacht and go do whatever I want to do. It really does. And even the ownership called him out on it. And he's like, yeah. And he went out and did the same thing. So I think that's a big problem there for the Rangers. I got to agree with Rico. I don't think it's going to be like a complete rebuild, but I think they left themselves open for a different look next year. Like Rico said about giving Bertuzzi and Domi like 1-year contracts, they can look at things differently next year. They actually put themselves in a position where if we need to change things around, we have some contracts to change things around. So then Boston, they're grasping. It seems like they're grasping at straws, right? Like that's what it seems like. Or maybe they're just waiting for that cap to go up and they're going to get that top center next year. I mean, how do you give Pasternak that kind of money? You got Marchand there. You still got a lot of great pieces. You got.
Well, they're not going to trade if they tear it. Yeah, I only want you to do one team, Pearlo. Hold on. Okay, if they're going to tear it down,
I'm just trying to hash it out in my head.
I got you, but okay, that's fine. I want to give Hot Take Hockey a chance to break. I want to give John who he would pick to burn it down, but I got you. John, thoughts on who of that 7 would you have would you just redo the rebuild?
Well, I'll say this. I think with the fact that, so I'll just go quickly with my answer. I think the Rangers, but my thing with the Rangers is I think the reason why they maybe hold off is 2 names. Adam Fox and Igor Shesterkin. I think if they don't have those 2 guys and they have another letdown in the first round, like against the Devils, I think that squad could be a disaster because I just look up front. They've had 2 top 2 picks in Kakko and Lafreniere that haven't panned out yet. They have big money tied to Zibanejad and Panarin. And I just look at that team right now.
And Kreider.
And Kreider.
Trouba.
I like Kreider, though. I like Kreider.
Yeah, but they all make good money. Like,
So where I'm going with this is not complete tear it down, but I think if they have another letdown this year, it is 1,000% the New York Rangers, except for Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin. So everyone that's not named Adam Fox, Igor Shesterkin, boom, it's gonna be a big blow up. One of Lafreniere, Kakko gone, one of Panarin, Zibanejad gone, and I think they're going to try to dump Trouba, and Kreider's the captain.
That's a really I didn't
Yeah,
even think
my
he was
wife
that's good.
thought Kreider should have been the captain in the first place.
Yeah.
And I will say when I made trades for her on the GM thing, I did get rid of Kreider. I did get rid of Zibanejad. I did get rid of Panarin, and I ended up trading Trouba mid-season because I didn't need him. You know, I know he's a big hitter and stuff. And I think he was a big reason the Rangers turned their season around last year. But I don't know, man.
Jeremiah, would you do Panarin for Kuznetsov?
Yeah, in a New York minute, I would. If I was the Rangers, I would do it. If I was the Rangers, I would do it. Because Kuzi's
It
only
saves the money.
Yeah, the Caps couldn't even do it. They'd have to take like Anthony Mantha.
They'd have to ship Mantha to Arizona.
Yeah, man. So I would just watch. Like I did a video during Mantha's debut, and I think he had like a goal and a couple assists or something for the Caps. He won 6-1.
Honestly, I think that would benefit both teams, though. Like if Washington put in a couple sweeteners, just like nothing huge, but I mean, imagine Panarin with Ovi. That'd be a lot of fun.
I would do that if I was Washington all day. Kuznetsov was an absolute disaster last year.
Well, he needs to get traded. I just think he's in. I'm with you. He's in a thing. That would be such a great. Sorry. The dogs.
But now that you said it, I got to agree with John. I think he's right. If there's any team that's going to be able to have the capability of saying screw this stuff and are willing to do that, base it with their sponsorship and all that, it would be the Rangers. I think John's nailed that on.
And I was going to say,
they need to. They need to do it. I think if they don't win the cup this year, they need to do it. I'm with you.
I think maybe this is a massive hot take. I have the Rangers making the playoffs, but with how good the Atlantic Division is getting and all these teams battling for wild card spots, the Bruins,
they're in the Metro, they're in the
Sabres. No, I know. But what I'm saying is,
but the overall
picture, say the top 3 spots go to Carolina, Devils, and Pittsburgh, for example. Like Jeremiah, I don't think the Rangers are battling for a number 1 division spot. I think they're going to be division spot number 3 or wild card. So if Pittsburgh, once upon a time, like I said, they were right there. It wasn't like they were super far off. If they jump into a division spot, or say the Islanders, say Lou Lamoriello's plan works and the Islanders squeeze into a division spot. All I'm saying is that the Rangers are in a wild card spot and they're battling with all those Atlantic Division teams and somehow they miss. That's the team I see, boom. And James Dolan is one of the few owners that will make irrational decisions fresh off a season.
Oh, yeah.
If James, remember James Dolan, he was just like, screw this, and just fired, was it GM and coach within
Gordon.
Yeah, he fired Jeff Corton. And
that was a bad move. That was a
really bad move. But
I love
John,
Chris Drury. They should not have done it.
John brings up a really good point, though. He's capable of doing that. That's the thing. He's
like, I could see it. I could literally see a scenario where they have that kind of like whether miss the playoffs or wild card and then lose in the first round. I could see James Dolan just be like, Chris Drury, if you want to keep your job, you're trading one of these 3 guys, and then lists off like Panarin, Zibanejad, Kreider, or something like that. And then obviously one of Lafreniere and Kakko are gone too.
Yeah. No, I mean, so we didn't talk about Laffy's deal got signed today, and it was 2.1 or something. I'm sorry, 2.3 area. Yeah. Let me get Rico back in here.
Keep in mind, I do think Lafreniere is going to go off this year. I'm still pretty reserved on Kakko because I feel like, I don't know. I feel like I just haven't seen enough from the guy. I feel like Lafreniere, at least we've seen like flashes.
Oh, shoot. I don't know what happened.
I think Kakko's going to have a great year.
I hope so.
I think people are way too hard on Lafreniere. The only reason why Lafreniere didn't go back to junior was because he was in the Quebec League, and that league doesn't develop crap. Sorry to tell you, they're terrible. He should have went to the AHL, but you can't send him back to the Quebec League. They do not. They don't teach players how to play defense. Now they've taken fighting out of the game. It's almost got to a no-hitting league. I think they made a mistake in drafting him in the first place, and it's not his fault. And then he had to come up, and they were playing him really, just fourth line minutes, hoping.
No,
I think he'll
they
turn
really
out to
talk
be a
about
really good player, but unfortunately, the way he had to develop is going to hurt him.
Yeah, they
And
should have
Jeremiah.
Yeah, go ahead. Sean.
Sorry, I was just gonna say, I know everyone shits on the Leafs, but imagine how creative the Rangers could have been with their cap situation and overall roster if they didn't sign Panarin and Trouba.
I know, and quite frankly, they'd still have Buchnevich. They'd still have, Hedo's a good player. They've got him, but I mean, he's going to be a guy who is up in a couple of years and is probably going to command one of those Hagel type deals that you just saw. I mean, that guy showed some big time upside. Darkness had a take. He thinks they'll trade some veterans like the Blues did. I think if you trade away your top end guys, you are tearing it down a little bit. I think that's kind of the point of the whole thing. Hey, so while I got you here, Hockey, we didn't get to talk about this last time. And this Pearlo is really the only guy I wanted to hear about this. That's not getting any play. And we lost Rico again. I don't know.
I was gonna say after this, I'm gonna hop off because I
want to hear what Rico's got to say.
Well, yeah, this is specifically about Edmonton and Jeff Jackson taking over and if you don't know, for the people listening, Jeff Jackson was Connor McDavid's agent. And there's a good article in the Edmonton Sun by Robert Tchaikovsky. I'll try to put that in the chat too if you're interested. Anyway, he talks about it. Anyway, the seismic shift of the here and now, but aftershocks might be more compelling. Read the article. Essentially, though, I don't know. I know you, Hot Take Hockey, there's been kind of quiet rumblings that McDavid might not stay his career in Edmonton. And you wonder, these windows don't stay open forever, This guy being his agent, you think that puts an end to him ever leaving there? He's going to be there forever. And
yeah, for me, John.
Yeah, you're asking me.
Yeah, John.
I mean, I think it adds to make it a little safer. I mean, I don't know. I think to me, I think with McDavid, I think it's just going to be an overall sense of where the team's at. I mean, Pearlo, I know, is kind of down on the Oilers, but I think if the Oilers win, and I think if the overall team stays together and the management group stays together, I mean, Ken Holland will obviously move on, but I think if all of that stays together and they're winning, I mean, winning solids everything. So I think it would have to come down to them having a major roster turnover for McDavid, because I think McDavid, every time he's been asked about it, he keeps saying with this group, with this core, with this group. I mean, similar things have been said with Toronto, but I think specifically with McDavid, I think he's obviously pretty tight with most of the guys. And I mean, I've even heard a guy like Warren Fogle. Apparently, a lot of the guys love that guy. So I don't think the Oilers are trading even someone like that. So I think it's a pretty tight-knit group. They do a lot together. So I can't really see McDavid even in general without that move. So with that move, I think McDavid should be an Oiler for life. But obviously, if these next 3 or 4 years, if they don't get anything done, then I mean, that's a different story.
Do you think that this is a trend in the NHL now, though? We're seeing these, wasn't Gorton an agent too, or Ken Hughes, the GM of Montreal? I'm sorry, he was an agent, and we're starting to see. Here, Rico's back. You get Rico back in here. Oh, Rico, we're just talking about Jeff Jackson being the name. He was McDavid's agent. Now he's basically the president of hockey operations. I asked Hot Take Hockey his opinion. This was his last thing he was going to give us tonight. John, you stayed on way longer than expected. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. And hope you have a good night. I'll listen in a little bit more before I go to bed, but hope you guys have a good night.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on, John. Thanks again.
Have a good night, John.
Yeah. Check out his video about that breakout performers. We talked a couple about him. The one for the Leafs I really liked was Joseph Woll. I really think he's going to turn into a heck of a goalie. I really like what I saw from him. And I think Samsonov still has a high-end thing too, but I really like Woll. But anyway, so I was just catching you up. Pearlo, go ahead. I want to hear your thoughts being the Edmund tonight. What do you think of this move? This lock McDavid in for life with the Oilers?
I don't know if it fit in itself locks McDavid in, but having an agent as a president, or like you putting the tag of general manager like Hughes, really allows you to be able to get some very intelligent minds into your organization that doesn't have to deal with contracts. Like in Montreal, they got Gordon. Gordon, we just talked about him with the Rangers. It was a bad
He's
move
great.
for them. The guy's a genius. So if you can bring him in and say, look, you don't even have to deal with contracts. We're going to get this agent dude. He's going to deal with contracts. You just deal with the hockey side. We'll call him the general manager, and they're able to do that because Hughes can speak French Canadian. So that does that. And then we'll give you the president tag, and you can run this organization. And I think the Oilers kind of tailed on that, and it doesn't help that they took his agent, who McDavid loves a lot, to do that. I mean, I don't know if it totally solidifies it, but I can't see how it hurts. He probably, he loves him a lot. And before he goes, I hope that he's still out there right now. I'm not down on the Oilers necessarily, but the way they're built right now, I don't see them winning a cup. However, I do like the direction they're going in a lot of ways. They're bringing in guys like Brown. They're bringing in a lot of. They brought in Ekholm.
Yeah.
I like the direction they're going, and they could win a cup. I just don't see them as they're built at the moment in this day and age winning a cup. I do think that they can change things around and probably win a cup. Whenever you have McDavid, that you always have a chance. But that's really what I was saying there. But yeah, I think it's a good idea. You bring up a guy like that, and now okay, Holland's not going to be there forever. You have a much better chance of getting a really good hockey mind in Edmonton if you can tell him. Because I don't know about you, but if I was a general manager, the last thing I want to do is contracts. They're terrible to do. You have to. It's not fun to talk.
Well, don't the AGMs and stuff? Don't they have like AGMs and stuff to do that now? Like that was the big thing. I wanted to ask Hot Take Hockey a little bit about this too, because I did kind of find it surprising that Pridham didn't leave the Leafs to take the GM job for Toronto or for Pittsburgh. But I'll tell you why I think he didn't do it. I think he thought that's a bad situation for a GM because Crosby, Malkin, Letang, now they have Carlson. They got all players. And they have no prospect pool, and they don't have a ton of picks either. Yeah. So it's boring. At least the Leafs, they still have a couple young guys. Plus, like if I'm Toronto, the great equalizer here is you need to be the best scouting team because a third of the players in the country play in your area. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
So Rico, are you here with me, man? Like there's so much hockey in Ontario. How are they not like just finding gems in the third and fourth round all the time? Are they overthinking this?
Well, I think they tried finding one, taking that Easton kid from the London Knights there. The kid was sitting at the top row inside the arena on draft night. He's just running down the steps like he just won the lottery. People are like, who the hell is this kid? So obviously somebody scouted him. Maybe they're going a little off the board a little bit, but obviously somebody saw something in this kid, and we'll see how he turns out. And of course, Amarov passed away. Sad to see that.
That was terrible.
Yeah, that was awful. Rodion Amirov, we didn't talk about that either. And that kind of leads me to the last thing, guys. Today was 2 years that Jimmy Hayes passed away. And I wanted to shout out on the stream before we get off. His family, Kevin, who plays for the St. Louis Blues now, they set up a site, the 11 Fund in memory of Jimmy Hayes. And if you can donate to the 11 Fund, it's a 501c3 for the Canadian listeners. That's a nonprofit organization. All the money goes to charity. So if you're so inclined, you could donate some money in Jimmy Hayes' honor. I know that his heart, a lot of people were talking about him. We lost Rick Jenneret. We lost Jimmy Hayes 2 years ago, Rodion Amirov. There's been some hockey deaths. That sucks. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that in there. And I appreciate all that. We had a lot of people in the chat. We had almost 11 people in the chat at one point, which is awesome for us. If we have 3, I'm like, and honestly, for me, guys, I like when we don't have a lot in the chat because I want to hear from Rico and Pearlo, a lot of it on their regional affiliates and what they're listening to and what they're talking to. Because right now, I don't think there are 2 more hotbeds in hockey. And these guys are my friends. I consider them my friends, but I'll say this. I don't think there's 2 more hotbeds in hockey than Edmonton and Toronto right now. I think in the Canadian markets, I think Ottawa's up and coming. They got the new owner if they get the new building. Montreal, let's not sleep on them. I think we know where Calgary and Winnipeg and Vancouver are, and they're in that void of we don't know. I think Vancouver, of those teams, though, they could surprise some people.
I think Vancouver might make the playoffs next year. I agree.
Well, the West is wide open, right? I mean, Colorado, I understand, but McKinnon is got a big deal. If they lose Landeskog, even the salaries off there, that's a terrible loss. You're losing like a top left, like one of the best defensive left wings, like physical captain, leadership. I don't know.
Well, that was the only guy. Landeskog was the only guy that McKinnon looked up to on that team. When Landeskog got hurt, it affected McKinnon. He came out even publicly and said it's not just me saying that, but that really affected him.
He publicly said we're screwed. He said it publicly. I couldn't even believe he said that, but yeah.
Yeah, but Edmonton reminds me of Toronto West now, man. They got Campbell, they got Connor Brown, Hyman. CC was at least for a year or whatever, shipped him off to Edmonton. But yeah, they're kind of the same team, man. High-end skill, lackluster goaltending a little bit, trying to fill in the cracks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the thing I would think with Edmonton is, though, you've got Draisaitl and McDavid that both play center, basically. And where that's sort of where like Marner and Matthews play center, but they don't play Marner at center really. He plays the wing. I wonder if Toronto played him up the middle. I
wonder if they give Willie Nylander his own line.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I've only known him to be a winger, right? So I've not seen him. I mean, the thing with him too is he seems to I think he has ADD. Really, and he just gets kind of lost on the ice a little bit from here and there. I see that a little bit from Ovechkin. I think Ovechkin has a little bit of ADD too. He's super focused, though. I think that's why his shot is so incredible. But it's like, he knows how to play defense. You don't have as many hits, and he knows how to play good defensive hockey. But he's a winger too, so you can take more chances. And but I'll just say, I was so impressed with Willie Nylander in the playoffs. Like, I would try to keep him if I'm Toronto. But.
He's just a pure offensive guy, and that's the thing with Toronto. They're a pure offensive team, especially this year.
Weren't they one of the better 5-on-5 teams though? On the
scoring wise, yeah. Yeah.
Does that mean they play pretty good?
They're going to outscore the crap out of you in the regular season. But when it comes down to playoffs,
I didn't see that from them this year, Pearlo. I thought they lacked a lot of secondary scoring, and I thought they played a really good two-way game. If I'm being honest, as much Leafs as I watched last year.
I got a question for you. Who's a more motivated player? If the Leafs don't sign Nylander and they just sign Matthews, do you think Matthews is more of a motivated player next year, or Nylander is? Matthews to live up to his contract, or Nylander playing for a contract?
I think Nylander already has a contract in his back pocket and he knows it. That's personally what I think.
Yeah. I think Nylander probably could get 9, 5, 10 mil pretty much anywhere in the league. And I think Toronto knows it, and they'll probably keep him.
For that much, somewhere around there. Something before we go, I wanted to bring something up since you're talking about Edmonton. Do you know who is the second best 5-on-5 defensive forward for the Oilers? Who would you say that is? The second best.
Ryan
First
Nugent
best,
Hopkins.
second best. First best, and then second best. Give me both.
Ryan Nugent Hopkins.
Number one, yeah. Number
Yeah.
two.
And then I would say McLeod.
What do
It's
you
not
say?
Hyman.
It's not Hyman. No.
It's not McDavid or Draisaitl.
It is McDavid.
Is it?
He is their second best defensive forward. He's above average 5-on-5 defensive forward in the league, and the guy gets 100 and some. He is insane. He is the best thing we have seen for ages and ages and ages. He's incredible. He doesn't get credit for how good he is defensively. He is very, very good. They've only got two positive defensive forwards in there, and McLeod. Sorry, you brought up McLeod. McLeod, McDavid, and Hopkins are the only three positive 5-on-5 forwards on the Oilers. That's it. Draisaitl is zero. Draisaitl has no defensive responsibility whatsoever. None. Zero.
He's got a good run time.
Matthews is way better than Draisaitl defensively, and a better player. I would take him over Draisaitl all day long.
I think Matthews is one of the best two-way players. Didn't he lead the league in block shots for forwards or something? Like,
yeah,
he's a pretty good defensive player. He's
about average defensively, but he's so good offensively that average is wonderful. Wonderful. He's an amazing player.
I haven't hated. I mean, he gets lost on the ice from time to time too, don't they all? Right. Anyway, well, I think that's the show, guys. We covered a lot. We talked about Matthews, we talked about Rick Jeanneret, we talked about Carlson Petrie, Jeff Jackson to the Oilers. Thank you so much to Hot Take Hockey for coming on. I originally wanted him to just talk about breakout performers, and we were going to kind of just pick a couple from each team that not go through the entire NHL, but we'll talk about that next time. And then, like I said in the last video, Fans First Sports Network, going to be doing the NHL Nightly. And going to be talking a lot of hockey once hockey season starts up. If you're curious when training camp starts, I've got the dates right here. There, hold on. I'll throw it up here real quick for us before we go. And then we can hang out and talk, guys. I just like, we don't need to do more than an hour. So here you go. Ducks are the 15th. Here, let me zoom that in so you can see a little bit. So there's your rookies reporting, veterans reporting. So we're about a month out from like actual hockey camp and stuff like that. But we're only like 3 weeks away from the rookies playing. So we're going to start seeing some of those guys come in. It'll be real interesting. I'm super excited about this season. This is the first time I felt like I don't have any idea. I mean, last year I wasn't sure. I thought Colorado would be good again. They were, but they just were banged up. Vegas did not surprise me having seen them play.
I got to say something. You were on Vegas last year all the way pretty much, weren't you?
Yeah, I mean, I went and saw them early in the year, and they played Toronto and they played Anaheim, and they obliterated both teams.
Yeah. And you had Seattle over Colorado in the first round, didn't you?
I did, and so did Hot Take Hockey. I just believed in Seattle the way they were playing. We have a question, too. Nylander didn't go anywhere, Jeff. Jeff in the zone asked. He hasn't been traded yet. So we were just talking.
He's going to get traded. I think he's going to get signed.
I don't know what you're asking here. So anyway, we'll end the stream. I really appreciate everybody that came in. Darkness, Gabby, Bacon, Jeff in the zone, Ibrahim. Sorry we didn't get talking about the Flames. I didn't want to be. It was kind of been a depressing time. The Flames situation is not great right now.
That's probably a 2-hour show right there. The Calgary.
I think so, man. And I really want to get some of the guys from the Shifts and Pucks podcast. If you guys know anybody, reach out to your buddies. Let me know. Rico, same. It was good to see you, man. I hope you had a good vacation. I'll tell you, it has been wonderful here, and I've been spending as much time out on the lake as I can. That is the plan for the rest.
Finally got some warm weather out there.
Yeah, well, not warm as much as just sunny. So it's supposed to start raining.
Sunny weather.
So, darkness. Okay. Rico, thanks again, man. Good to see you, man. I hope everything is well. Got to be happy about Matthews, Pearlo. Okay, I'll play the outro, and thanks to everybody for coming, and you guys hang on.